Welcome to the Lila Life Show. I am your host, Linda Andrews, and I have a very special episode with you today. Welcome to the show, Miracle Laurie May. She is the owner of Have Zen Will Travel and the host of her own podcast. So pause right now, get over to Beauty and the Bittersweet for extra little nuggets of mindfulness and her clarity coaching, specifically for leaders, executives, entrepreneurs. The little ramble there. And that was me. She's in Los Angeles, California. She's also a meditation teacher and a presence that you'll hear with her voice. I find quite calming, grounding, and in some part of the word also energizing, through perhaps even hope. I don't know. And she's helping people all over the world tap into their own inner peace and knowing so they can see all the infinite ways that are available to them. She loves being a service in the world and sees people as perfectly imperfect, infinitely divine, and worthy of enjoying the beautiful mess that is life, all through things like courage, curiosity, presence, and playfulness. And speaking of playfulness, welcome, Miracle. I hope we can play right now. Ready to go.
1, 2, 3, play.
And the play session starts now. It's so good to see you, and just a true treat to have you on the show. I know we've been syncing this up for a while, and so welcome. We are here. I would love to hear right now, to just dive right in. This is all about helping people tap into teachings and practices that can help them on their journey, heal, be, and create. And when I say that, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, could we have a better person today to unpack some of this? And I know your work specializes in consciousness and, these different teachings and practices that you're using. What are you seeing work the most right now in your world, and why? I want to start there and we'll go from there.
In my world, or the people I serve?
I want to know both, but we could start with the people you serve, what you're seeing in your practice.
Yes.
And then your own practice.
Okay. It's just been really fascinating and intriguing the last few years, how just as a whole, as society, culture, world, things like meditation and mindfulness become, I'm not going to say mainstream. We're not quite there yet, but people are more open-minded to it and open to it. And I now work with one of the biggest corporations in the world doing team, group meditation, mindful leader meditation. I brought in another meditation teacher to help me out. So that's just incredible, where even in corporations and companies and businesses, that it's like people understand that tools like mindfulness and presence and the pause and breath work actually expand time, actually slow things down, actually help you make better, more efficient, effective, in service of the whole decisions, like it's counterintuitive in our culture, especially here in America, where everything is go and get and do, and what do you have to show for everything, and you have to hustle for everything. It's very counterintuitive to have a leader that's like, you know what, I'm just going to pause. I just need a minute. I'm going to go close my eyes and take a deep breath, and then let me answer the question. Then let me guide my team. Then let me do this, then we can have this hard conversation. Then we can have this beautiful, expansive, creative conversation, but doing literally anything from a place of stillness, I think is always a great choice. And so I just feel very privileged that this vision I've had for so many years, so long, of it's got to start from the top down, like we got to start with the people in charge. We got to start with the people, and even entrepreneurs, like we're our own bosses, right? So like, what energy are we injecting into the work that we're putting out into the world? When we show up in these interviews, when we try to hire somebody, when we're creating our content, like it should be injected in everything. And you'll just see everything start to expand and align, and you'll find ease and grace, and then like magical things happen. I don't know. But I can also see how for some people, just the invitation to be still feels triggering for people. Right. So like, I want to honor that. And personally, that has been very surprising. And, Linda, like we've known each other for a while now. We similar-ish work, when we vibe together, we've worked together. And even people like us who are like spiritually minded and already in like the woo-woo field and personal growth and all the things that we do, like we get triggered. We're still human, and I think that's why with my podcast, Beauty and the Bittersweet, it's really about the and. right? It's like walking in the human and the spirit form at the same time. And where do we find that synergy? Right. So many tangents. I'm sorry. I'm so excited.
No, I'm in it all. Yes. I want to dive in, and we did.
Yes, we did. You asked and you shall receive. Yeah. But people like us, yes, we get triggered too. Yes, we have stuff that we're going to be confronted with because that's forever. I think when I was younger, I thought, oh, if I do enough work on myself, if I meditate enough, if I yoga enough, if I this enough, if I whatever, then I'll just be done. Right. And then I'll have reached like enlightenment, which might be possible for some people in human form, still. I don't know that that's my jam. I don't know if that's my journey this time around,
It's like, oh, I probably would have had not to you. This is like a blanket statement. I'm testing out some comedy, but it's like, I should be farther along by now if that was the path.
Right. How come I didn't do it?
Yeah.
Like, or I just thought like I'd get to a thing where I was like, and I'm done now. And like all the growth would be done, or I don't know what the hell I thought it would be, but it's not true. Anyway, so I'm just saying that because a lot of people, I think, still have some resistance towards meditation, think it belongs to a certain religion or spiritual belief. And, I specialize in mindfulness meditation, which I know, and just really just presence and just making space for the thoughts to come in. You and I both are huge fans of Michael Singer and his beautiful work. Right. But even still, what I'm saying is that people like us who've been doing this maybe our whole life, my name's Miracle. That's the real deal. Hippie parents. Okay. I grew up in the whole thing, art and music and love and, all of it. So meditation and thoughts like this are not new. This is literally what I grew up in. So even people like me who've been around kind of the little off center, Eastern beliefs, like whatever kind of that I grew up with, we still hit roadblocks. So I forget that for people in corporate America, just random people doing whatever they're doing, entrepreneurs, anyone that is brand new to this and has maybe been intimidated by meditation, that because of whatever their upbringing is, whatever their beliefs are, whatever their resistance is, whatever their traumas are, whatever it is, that just closing their eyes and being still for a few moments can feel very confronting. And so for me, someone who's like literally always done this, it was a really humbling moment to remember not everyone is like you, Mir. Like people have their own journeys. They're showing up in their own space with their own stuff, and their own intentions and their own history. And so it was just a really beautiful, especially the last few years where I brought literally hundreds of people to meditation, which is like so like rewarding for me. It's so beautiful that I've been able, these are some of the hardest years that our generation and generations have ever, moved through for lots of reasons. And a good friend of mine, Steve, right at the top of it, I think it was like May 2020, he goes, so all of us parents are freaking out. Can you do like a midweek meditation, like 10 minutes? I was like, you bet I can, babe. So now like I've been sending that out every Wednesday for, since then. Yeah. And so it's just nice where it gives people a little reprieve. And I think having it, come to their inbox in the privacy of their own home and their space whenever they have the time to do it. Cause not everyone likes to do stuff in groups or one-on-one with a coach or, whatever. The apps don't always work for everybody. Right. So it's just kind of nice. Right. And again, it was all divinely guided, which we talk about all the time. And even this interview has been pushed, like 600 times, and it feels so right. Like I felt so excited to show up today and just seeing your face. And it was like, yes, this is exactly when this was supposed to happen. So, 25 answers to your question, but it's been fun to see people, show up and be brave and try something new and fight for their peace, which is like, conflicting words, but prioritize their peace is what I should say. And that's what I think meditation does for a lot of people. And for me, it's been humbling. It's been inviting. It's been exciting to find new ways to meet people where they're at, and now they have trauma-informed yoga teachers, trauma-informed meditation teachers, and that's opened everything up because it's become a little more mainstream. So like, that's beautiful to kind of honor where everybody's at, and saying, and for anyone, I'm sure most of your listeners have tried meditation, but in case they haven't.
I hope so. I always tell the first time I meditate story, just to remind them, if you can't sit still for 1 minute, you're going to crawl out of your skin. Like that's how I started. And
yeah, you got to start.
I was like the opposite of you, where I grew up in a really conservative family. Like I hid from my parents until I was well into my 20s that I had ever been to a yoga class because I was afraid.
Wow.
For real. And so it was like all this stuff that I was coming to terms with, and exactly what you were saying about the beliefs and all the things that you're like, I can't do this. And I was in corporate and literally felt like I was dying, and remember being like, I keep hearing about meditation, and like, okay, just do it, set a 60-second timer, sat with myself for a minute. And it was like such a deeper soul yearning. And I was like at the beginning of that career. So then that was like starting this curiosity, but I really, it felt unsafe for me to sit with myself then.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like a decade later, I'm just now understanding what that even was,
Wow.
So there, the model, like there's such distinctly different models of the world of what we each go through.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't ever find the conversation around meditation and mindfulness. There's always like a different aspect of it that can be explored within, each of us as such experienced, quote unquote, practitioners,
Right.
or not. And that makes it a really, I think, level playing field where it's like, how can you tighten up your practices? And if you don't have one, how can you start?
Right.
And then like, okay, what starts to emerge from that? And two of the things that I love you said, one is about, I keep hearing the call to intuition. So I want to unpack that a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and leadership. And you to me are such a magnetic leader. And like, I don't know if you had a conscious moment around your role in leadership and what started to shift there with leadership for you. And then definitely want to hear about the listening more and more and more to the intuition and how you help guide others to do that. I think these are two extremely valuable and timely topics.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of people will resonate with that, and not everyone. This is my point, and I've just personally, like on a human level, have felt disappointed many, many times in the last few years with people in like the spiritual community, the self, personal growth, woo-woo, whatever you want to call it. And I think it's really demonstrative of our collective trauma response of the last few years, just how extreme, and even in a community where everyone's supposed to love everybody and like there's space for all of it, is what everybody says all the time. And they're just like sitting there throwing shit at each other and judging each other. And so it's been very interesting. And again, everything's an invitation, right? If everything happens for us, then it's an invitation for me to expand, for me to notice, where am I charged? What is woo, like what's woo, and like, hey, I thought this was this. I thought I knew this person. I thought we were cool. I thought, and it was like, whoa. And so again, to me, mindfulness is basically waking meditation. We practice, and going to your point, when you were brand new, try with 30 seconds, try with 10 seconds, who cares? Close your eyes, take a deep breath. But what I also wanted to say was something that I had to start implementing for people was even literally closing their eyes in front of another person for whatever reason is not safe, in their body. So, and I've been, kind of exploring nervous system healing, and which I'm sure you discuss, here. And so it's just like lower the gaze. Right? Like you don't have to close your eyes all the way, but just kind of soften a little bit and focus on one point, and just take 3 deep breaths. Don't set a timer. You don't have to do anything, right? But it's just about kind of acclimating to that new reality, which is sitting with self. And there's a beautiful healer I want to introduce to your community. Her name is Tel Darden.
Okay. And
she's a nervous system healing specialist. She's magical. And she's the first person where I heard the word titration. Do you know that word? I'd never heard.
I picture like a squirting of like titrate the chicken.
Like a dropper. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like Thanksgiving themed. I don't know.
I'm like, I don't eat meat, so I don't know.
Yeah. I'm like,
so
paleo.
Right. She goes, she basically was saying our body knows, right? Like our body tells the truth. So it is very, very possible that this thing that should be easy or simple or basic or whatever is not for you for whatever reason, right? So it's like, trust your body. And if this is still something you would like to get better at or expand or practice or try or experiment with, she said titration basically means the smallest doable piece. So I love that, because I think, and again, like I said, I was just so disappointed that even in our community, it felt very all or nothing again. It felt very, this is the right way. And I'm like, hold on. Like, who the hell are any of us to say there's one right way to do anything? For me, the one right way is love. What
It's
do I believe in? Love.
as you say that, I can like, that started to feel so unsafe for me, like the one way thing.
Right.
Like I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I run very contrarian naturally. Like that was just
Right.
something
Same.
that I'm very curious. I'm like, oh, what are we, what's going on? And what's the
Right.
opposite? And like,
Right.
what can I learn through that full spectrum? And that's something that it's like, I literally now feel like in the world, if I hear something that feels all or nothing, it's like spidey sense, like,
Yeah.
no matter what it is, I'm like,
Right.
I just want
Right.
to understand this more and feel like very, we could say hypervigilant, but very certainly aware to specific language, what's behind the language, what's behind the words. And, I think it's interesting, maybe as you tune more and more to your intuition, like that all becomes first nature to really be paying in this heightened attention.
Yeah. Well, and I think we get into trouble, and especially the world, the way that it is now, where people are so eager to just make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of people, their beliefs are part of their identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if one of us we get new information, it's like, oh, I might have been wrong. Then we have to shift into that.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to quote unquote admit that we're wrong. But it's like, what if we're just always learning? Like who's right and who's wrong? And again, it's all binary things.
You kind of like, you knew what you could in that moment, and now you know more in this moment. And that's like literally a function of time. It's like, oh,
right. We're always expanding.
Yeah.
We're always learning. We're always growing. We're always changing. So again, it's just, and I get it, believe me, we all do it in some form. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is, to me, all of this work. And I do want to talk about the two things you brought up.
Yes.
I wanted to finish the thought, because I think there's so many people that feel like I will fail at meditation. I will fail at mindfulness. I'm failing at anything.
I'm failing at all these other things.
Because they're not good immediately, or they can't do it like you and I do it, or whoever they follow on Instagram friggin' does it, or what. And it's like, oh my God, it's not to be compared. Like none of it's to be compared. None of it. Right.
I'm laughing. Gary Vee. Do you know of Gary Vee? It's such an East Coast. He's like a New Jersey marketer. He used to have this company called the Wine Library, and it was his family business, but he like brought content to it. And whenever I think of exactly what you're saying, I picture Gary Vee's early wine library videos. Like they were ridiculous in like the most epic way. And it's like, just remember Gary Vee started with like his but he was doing it. And like, he did 10 years times all those videos, and is one of the, many would say best marketers or a great marketer.
Right.
He's a known marketer. And it's like that, the repetitions and the tightening up of the repetitions and like the learning, the getting better. We were talking before this about the growth mindset. And it's like, not everyone has a growth mindset. And in the growth mindset is the gift of so much, but is it safe to even be in a growth mindset?
Not for everybody, I would argue, right? Or at least not right now.
Now.
Again, that's why I just wanted to invite the titration, the smallest doable.
I love
piece.
that.
Like start with where you are and just start. And I mean, I feel like we could talk about 65 different subjects, but like failure is not real or it's inevitable. It's both. This is what I'm saying. My husband and I always say it's always both because life is the paradox. It's all the things at all the same time. You can be right and wrong about something, and I can be right and wrong about it.
It could be a comedy and a tragedy right now, but about the same thing.
Yes.
And maybe it all is.
It is. It absolutely is. And that's why it's like, oh my God, it doesn't even matter. Like one of my first clients who stayed with me for 2 years, and now he's in the group coaching program we were talking about before we recorded, and he's so sweet. And whenever he and I have a one-on-one and we go deep and we do this coaching and we meditate, we talk about things and we have goals and we have all this stuff. And at the end of the day, we'll just sit there at the end of the call sometimes. he just feels like a little, oh, okay, thank you. Like it was good, but it just feels like, and I go, hey, don't forget, lighten up. Okay. And we just like end with that. And he starts busting out laughing because he's like, right. Like, some of us, myself included, I'm also an actor. So, I'm not afraid of feelings and all that life has to offer. I'm hungry for all of it. Right. And he's an actor. The spectrum. Yeah. So I think we're like, maybe a little more susceptible to all the big, deep feelings of all the things. So it's very easy, I think, for us to fall into the heaviness of some of this quote unquote work. you know, but to your point and your name and your business name, like it is play. It is play, actually, you know, like going to intuition, and leadership. Actually, yeah, here we go. This answers both. Okay.
Yay.
I really do feel like one of, I want to answer this correctly. Hang on one second. Oftentimes, the challenges that we navigate are the exact thing we're supposed to teach, right? And help people with. And like almost everybody in every field would agree. And so for me, I think there has been a disharmony or a non-integration of self. And I think you might have even commented on this when I was working with you as my coach, you know, back in the day, but like, where it's like the spiritual self and the human self, like the goofy self and the serious self, you know, the like, I literally said to, I don't know, I was talking to a teacher or something the other day and I go, I was like, sometimes I feel just super regal and like a queen and just like, oh, and in my power and like, yes. And I'm in charge of the whole damn kingdom. And I'm bringing love and wealth and joy and health and abundance and beauty and I'm like, yes. And look at that power. And other times I'm the freaking clown. Like I'm the court jester spaz goofball, like just falling over furniture and making people laugh. And I am totally fine being the butt of the joke, like whatever you need, you know, like, I don't care. I just want everyone to enjoy themselves because life is short. And it's all hard and awful and beautiful and amazing and fun and glorious and tragic. And it's all the things. And that's why I say mindfulness is like walking and waking rather. Meditation is because when you meditate and you cultivate that strength and that presence and that practice of creating space for all the things to be true at the same time, or at least two things to be true, you know, start with where you are, you know, then when you're out of meditation and you're just in your day-to-day life, you can take that breath, you can take that pause that I was talking about with the leaders that I work with, where they're on set, you know, and production is crazy. It's, you know, there are a lot of industries in the healthcare industry, right? Where it's just like, there are actual emergencies, whether it's someone's life or millions of dollars, you know, being spent every minute or whatever it is. Like, there's just a different kind of energy that people have to work in. Right?
And even pressure.
And pressure. Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Even if it's right. Exactly. There's not an actual emergency. There's perceived emergency, which is another problem, another conversation for another day. You know,
more real than the real one always.
Yes. Yes. But they can take that pause and it does expand time. It does create space for a real solution that is like the correct one or the one best for everyone or the person or whatever. And it just helps you interact with people better. And, so for me, I think with intuition and leadership and what I've had to go through versus what I teach, I've lost my train of thought. So I'm going to just come back to it. Did you have a question that I was answering? I'm so sorry.
You're good. You're good. We were talking about with the leadership and the intuition, how both like the turning point in each, where the prioritization and the importance of intuition shifted for yourself and how that empowered you to teach others. So we can start with the intuition. So when did you notice within yourself, like, holy cow? And I know you were exposed to a lot of different teachings and practices really early on in your life. When were you starting to have a conscious relationship with your intuition and like knowing that's a thing? And maybe even intuition isn't the most resonant word. If you have a different word that you use, I'd love to hear.
I think growing up, what was said in my family a lot was trust your gut. Like a lot, you know, and intuition, gut feeling, you know, stuff like that. And I think it was more of like a safety thing. Okay. Maybe that's because we're, you know, growing up as a girl and a woman, it's like, you know,
trust your gut.
Yeah. Well, and it's just like, you know, again, a different episode, but, where there's just like threats everywhere, you know, I'm, you know, same with people of color. They really have to have those conversations. And then women to an extent, you know, depending on your family, it's like, okay, you know, your gut. And if you don't feel safe, get the hell out of there, you know? So I think it kind of started there maybe a little bit, but then it was like basic decisions, you know, how does it feel to you? So that invitation was there. And I got to be honest, I think at some point it went from like a young kind of innate knowing that I believe we all have, where we can tune into our body and just trust that wisdom. And then because of whatever, my upbringing, my trauma, my childhood, whatever the hell, you know, add it all together and you have a human being. At some point, my trauma response and my fear and my need to control, my codependency, my savior complex, all that shit that started manifesting when I was like teenager, early 20s, kind of took the role of quote unquote intuition. So they were conflated in me for a little bit. And what I thought was intuition was just straight up fear.
Wow.
Right.
How'd you unwind that?
A lot of work. I mean, honestly, like meditation, dude, you know, meditation was a big one. Again, I've always been curious about the human condition. I think because I was an actor, I've just always been fascinated, like why we do the things we do. I think in my head, there was always something to fix within me. This is what I was getting at. I think there was always something to fix. There was something wrong. There was something to heal. There was something to make better. There was something to apologize for. There was something to not apologize for anymore, you know, and just, we get feedback about ourselves when we're young based on how we're treated in the world. Right. So I was very confused about how I was treated compared to how I felt moving through life. Because I was like, I think I'm this. And then everyone's treating me like I'm this, and they don't match. So who's wrong? Somebody must be wrong. Oh, it must be me. You know, so then I went down this whole rabbit hole of got to fix myself, got to get better, got to stop being whatever. But then also deep down intuition, knowing nothing is wrong with me. Like maybe they're the asshole. Maybe they don't get it. Maybe they don't see the light for what it is, you know, maybe they, you know, or that's their shit, right? Like 4 agreements, don't take anything personally. Everyone's crap is always about them, like 100% of the time. Okay. Everything out of my mouth is about me. Not about you. Okay. Like, and I can want the best for you. I can be there for you. I can be in service of you. And I am you, you know, that's what I mean. It's all the same thing. So we can just, okay. So I think at one point I was able to really realize, oh, and we might've had a conversation about this too, now that I think about it, but it's like, there's nothing to fix. That's why I say perfectly imperfect, infinitely divine, because we are the divine and we are the human, and human is inherently just kind of like messy and confused and like doing their best that they can. Right. And always learning and always growing and always changing and blah, blah, blah. And we're in this together. We're in this weird alone together dynamic as humans, you know? And so for me, doing enough work, reading all the books, leaning on all these different beautiful teachers, a lot of whom you and I, you know, share and agree on and love and respect, and really just surrendering to the truth of me, which is the truth of all of us, which is just love, just infinite love and light. Like that's what I think is really going on here. And through meditation, through mindfulness, if you can actually sit in that, then all of it becomes less of a big deal. All of it becomes less charged. I don't have to be, you know, attachment was tricky for me, right? Like to everything, to my expectations to people, to my expectations about people, to expectations for myself. And then when you realize like, no, it's all a gift. It's all okay. It's all just part of this magical journey we get to go on that we don't get to have in spirit form. We get to have it in human form. So even all of it, even the pain is like, whoa, this is life. Whoa, I must be really in it right now.
Really feeling that. Okay.
Really feeling that. All right, I guess we're on that journey. And then remembering that it's all temporary. So even if it's just like a thing that you have for your whole life, just the way that you came out, and this is it until the day you die, even that's temporary. Even if it's a whole lifetime, that's one lifetime. And I don't know what happens next, but it'll be done. It'll be something else.
The temporary, as you said, temporary, what popped in was and novel.
Right.
And that's something that I find so powerful is like, if I'm willing to look at every single second as new.
Yes.
And it is temporary. That's really quite the adventure that I like to run the math on this sometimes just to really like validate the thought, right? But how many seconds, you know, of newness are happening in a day, all of them. But it's like, what's that gap in my mind that's not letting me see it like that?
Right. Right.
And then that's usually like the old story, the fear, you know, all the things, but it's like, just the novelty. I find that thrilling. I guess I've been needing to feel thrilling lately. And I'm like, yeah, it's all novel, all of it.
Yeah. And to your point, that's such a great example because you said, I need to feel like thrillingness in life right now. We're going to need different things at different times. Right. And I think my intuition, once I finally settled into it, it was like, this is the thing that's always been there. Then I was able to identify like the mask of fear that was on top of it. Then through meditation, and believe me, I'm not done. Again, we're never like done.
Yeah.
So sometimes it definitely comes up and I'm like, oh, I'm protecting you. Oh, I'm looking out. It's like, it's my intuition. Is it though? Or you just like freaking out? Is your little 8-year-old girl just like losing her shit right
You
now?
used to feel like this, and I don't think this is what the one that I use anymore feels like. I don't.
Right. So you just like give yourself a lot of grace for those moments. Right. And then when it comes to leadership, I don't know. I directed plays in high school when I was like 16. So I joke, I had a friend, because again, the first time I'll tell you when, years ago, this is like the birth of Have Zen Will Travel business. So I was in this women's group and there were a couple of women who were like, I want to meditate. I want to learn how to meditate. I want to meditate more. And I was like, well, just come over. Like, we'll put on some music on YouTube or a meditation on YouTube. And we can just, I was just literally holding space, like come to my house. And a couple of them were like brand new moms. So there was just like a very specific energy in the room. And I had this book from Jeff Foster, the Way of Rest, I think is his book. It's beautiful. It's so great. It's just like a book of poems about rest, which is, we could all stand to do more of that. Okay.
Leisure time. I'm working on the leisure time.
Yeah. But just like resting in yourself, it's an extraordinary. So I had like a couple passages chosen. I had some music ready and I was like, okay, this could be great. I show up, we get in this little circle. I light a candle, all very cute. And they just kind of like look at me. And then I was like, oh, and then I realized I don't know how to describe it, but it was like everything I chose ahead of time will not work right now. Like I just knew in my body, like they will hate everything I've chosen.
Wow.
And I don't want to do that. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to change some things up. So I put on some music instead of a guided meditation. I just put on music. And then I led them in a meditation. Now, I'm an actor. I do not improv. I think I'm fun and can be funny, but I'm not like funny guy funny. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to do stand-up.
Debatable, but okay.
I just would never,
Yeah.
But you give me a script and like all day I can do that. I love it. Right. So the fact that I didn't even flinch, Linda, at the thought of like, let me just freestyle. And I literally, I don't know how to describe it. It was like, I literally opened up and I just became the vessel. And I was like, okay, let's meditate. And like, what do they, and I think I maybe even, in my head said like, what do they need to hear? Or something like that. And I just like led a 20-minute meditation. It was beautiful. We talked, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, holy shit, like this is a thing. And then I just started doing it for them just out of love and support. And then it was like a weekly thing in person in different parts of town. And, and then I realized that a lot of people, like, they don't like the apps. They don't like, the just generic ones on YouTube. So then I started doing like tailored guided meditation. So it was just a very, very organic thing. And it was really fun for me because I do love being of service. I think I've always loved without knowing that's what it was. Like, I think I've always felt part of something bigger than me. And that's why kind of being like a loner weirdo in school sometimes like wasn't even that hard. Like it felt hard to kind of be rejected and bullied, like we all go through, but I almost kind of got it. Like I was friends with the teachers. I've always dated older. I've always had friends older, it's just, I'm very comfortable kind of at that, not even level, but like with that type of person. So stepping into leadership and working with other leaders was very easy. Like I said, the director thing, I love telling people what to do. And when I realized the meditation thing needed to branch out because people needed a little more support, I was like, well, we just got to talk about mindfulness more. And I was like, maybe I'm a mindful mentor. Maybe I'm a blah, blah, blah. My friend Kat was like, dude, you're a coach. Just say coach. Why are you reinventing the wheel? I was like, because I hate that word. Everyone's a fucking coach. Like, I don't want to, no, I had such resistance. It was like, just be the thing that you are. That's my message, I guess. And you can be multiple things and you can change, So I just think me really living what it means to be perfectly imperfect, infinitely divine, to be someone that cusses, that messes up, that loses her train of thought, that makes mistakes constantly and then talks about them. And then also can hold this really beautiful, expansive energy for people to explore these things and to feel safe enough to be vulnerable, to tell the truth, to own different parts of them and expand in their own way. And then I've watched it. spill out and spill over into their communities, their families, their work staff. It's just extraordinary. So I just think it was kind of destined in a way. And for me, and any of the work I do with anybody, I think a lot of what I'm here to do personally, which I'm here to also teach, is that it's not about fixing anything. It's not about getting to anything. It's not about any of that. It's really about shedding all the bullshit that isn't you, and just revealing and discovering and uncovering and exposing the truth of you, which is the truth of all of us, which is love and light and our own unique self and our own unique place in this little game of life, this dance, this path, this, a new game every second,
right?
Quality every second, because it can change that fast. We've seen that.
Right.
We are in a very quick changing, constantly evolving, like big time shift in the world and in time, in the history of time. We are in a very, very interesting, beautiful, expansive, challenging, incredible time. So I just think the more that we can truly love who we uniquely are, and giving space for everyone else to do the same, and not needing anyone to be any way. Like, I just want everyone to love themselves. That's how we heal, is by being and creating in the way that we're here to create. So like loop it all the way into your show, girl. Like,
right?
That's it.
Full circle.
That's it. We heal together by healing ourselves, by just truly being without judgment, without expectation, without any of it. And just like embrace all that we are. There's nothing wrong with anybody. There's just not, and I, at the very, and I know we're sorry. Time,
You're perfect. Coming into our closing.
I remember right at the top of the pandemic, I was very fortunate to be kind of a fly on the wall in this amazing conversation with a bunch of Black women business owners, small business owners. And it was like, what's our duty here? It was, I think, right after George Floyd was murdered and all of that was going on. And so there was just a lot of like, what do we do? And what's our responsibility? And how can we help? And, and for people like me too. And I was like, how do I show up without getting in the way or being disrespectful or, you know what I mean? Or like looking like a poser or something. Right. And so I just wanted to witness. And one of these beautiful women said, the truth is there are two kinds of people in the world, good people and good people who are in pain. And I thought, well, there it is. Because there actually is no good or bad, right? There is no right or wrong. It's like, if someone's doing these horrible things or online hating you and judging you or like, whatever, you all know what I'm talking about. Okay. If someone's doing horrific shit, what must be going on in their head, their heart, their body, their mind, their reality, their world, where that's like the choice, where that's like an okay choice and the right choice for them. Like, what must have to go on in there? And that whole concoction of a human where this is the choice. So our choice, and we always have a choice, is to look with eyes of love and compassion. We don't have to condone everything. We can still have our feelings and our opinions about shit. Fine, do whatever you want, but it's like, but can I look with eyes of love at all of you? And the only way we can really do that is if we start with ourselves. Because I really think when people are extra judgy and extra shamey and extra whatever, excuse me, we're all reflections of each other and reflections of ourselves, and we're mirroring, right? So it's like, okay, so that means there's like a disowned part of you, So again, the invitation is like, if you think everybody else is the problem, I would highly recommend taking a moment, taking a breath, and just giving yourself a hug.
The common piece of this puzzle is me. Okay. We're gonna,
but again, it's not about like judging and shaming yourself either. I'm talking about like immediate, like just pour love on it, pour love on everything and starting with yourself. And I think if we really can do that, then we can delight in the contrast and the differences of each other. Because again, how boring if we were all the same and nothing would get done. Right?
Like, it's all this way.
Right. Like, I need people, think of like community and tribal and village living, where it's like, we can't all be the healer and the clown and the mother and the hunter and the whatever and the bed maker and the, like, we all were given these unique gifts and unique passions and unique desires and unique abilities and unique struggles to continue to shape us while we're still here in this human form, to be of service in the whole by really sitting in our unique beauty and power. And that is complicated and it's worth exploring. So,
I love this. I think this is a perfect close, and it includes, in my mind, the invitation. If, like, when you said, if you're feeling like you're turning the lens out to everyone else where all the things are wrong, what part of yourself is not yet being explored and loved and seen? And like, does that nagging, criticizing, whatever that voice looks and sounds like, does that start to dissipate and alchemize and just shift? And, that correlation between the judgment and then when you turn it on the inside, it is a miracle, and you are a miracle, and your work is a miracle. And it's so good to be here sharing that. And so I feel like there's a lot of closing thoughts here. So before we wrap, I just want to take a moment to spotlight your website, havezenwilltravel.com. And you can go to havezenwilltravel.com/business/podcast. There's some different threads there, including your havezenwilltravel.com/offer. Enroll.
Yes.
Not to be confused with offer. So if you need me to distinct there, it is enroll.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
You got it.
Beautiful.
And your current enrollment, if you would share for a moment.
Yeah. It's called the Start Over Club. I'm going to read what I wrote. So I don't, is that okay?
Yeah. I love it. Get the good gems.
I've rewritten it like 6,000 times. Being an entrepreneur is fun. Okay. The Start Over Club, formerly called Yayom, if anyone knows who I am and they heard me promoting it, it's the same thing. I upgraded because I've been doing this for 2 years now, and I've got brand new awesome stuff for you. The Start Over Club, for anyone going through a rebirth, a renaissance, or a great awakening, who is ready to finally embrace who they really are and what they actually want in this life. You'll get community and support so you feel less alone in your journeying, tools to learn how to feel your feelings without being overwhelmed or run by them, clarity around who you really are and what you truly want out of life, like for real this time, practices to help you remember how incredible you are and all that you're capable of, no matter what you're going through, a divinely guided plan to help you go after anything you want in life with clear intentions and aligned action, more joy, more peace, more ease, more love, more contentment, and more fun. Literally what I wrote.
Yay. So if you need a little extra fun in your life, you're at the right place. and
thank you,
Zen, fun and
yes.
Zen.
Yes.
Thank you so much. You want to leave with any final thought as we close out today?
Just thank you so much. I adore you. I respect you. I appreciate you. You're so beautiful. And thank you for all the work you do in your world and your work. I don't know. I just keep thinking of my hook on my website, which is so silly, but your bliss is just a breath away. It's like, we get to choose. So just remember that you have choice, and you can choose you, and you can choose love, and you can choose breath.
Awesome.
Always. Yeah.
Thank you, Miracle.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We will see you all on the next episode of the Lila Life Show. And for now, have a great rest of your day or night, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.